Kenji ROI.
All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining us again for this great webinar with Danny Carlson from Kenji ROI. We're going to learn a lot of stuff that is absolutely vital for sellers to know, to grow your accounts, to make more money, to learn, to expand your business. Danny, if you could introduce yourself, a little bit of bio, and how you ended up in this awesome retail space that we're all in.
Oh, thanks for joining us, guys. So yeah, just a little bit about myself. I've been an Amazon seller personally for about 2 years. And a year and a half of that, I've had my company Kenji ROI, which is we do listing optimization for Amazon sellers, product photography, copywriting, video, PPC, and stuff like that. And through that, we've served, I think, around 400 Amazon sellers at this point, created over 600 Amazon listings. So we have a lot of experience to go from when it comes to listing optimization. We'll get into that in a second here.
All right. So how did you become an Amazon seller? How did you really first get your start here?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I don't have any kind of background in online business or anything like that. I used to be a carpenter for 6 years, and I was actually a semi-professional downhill skateboarder, just traveling the world, working carpentry to save enough money to go be a longboard bum. But I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to start a business, but I just wouldn't do it. So it actually came when I was racing in the Philippines, and I almost hit a motorcycle head on my longboard going downhill. I was going 60 kilometers an hour. He was going 60 kilometers an hour the other direction. So really near-death experience, and it just made me realize that, I just need to do it. I just need to go start this business and make it happen. So just based off of that, jumped in with really no experience, took a few courses, just dove into it. That was the kick in the butt that I needed.
I got to tell you, it's really cool how everyone we talk to, including me, how we all ended up in this space. I had always represented entrepreneurs throughout, like even before I graduated law school. I had a couple of guys from college who were buying and selling businesses. And then, as life progressed, one of my long-term clients bought an Amazon-based business, got suspended, and called me up. And there was nowhere to turn with any competent help. And that's how we got started on this path. So it's really cool. I'm glad you didn't get killed by that truck. All right. You survived the longboard, downhill skateboard, and that you ended up in this space. And we recommend to people all over the world, you just got to get started. A lot of people say retail arbitrage is dead. I think it's definitely on its way out, but we think it's a great way to just jump in with both feet and learn the dashboard. All right, let's jump right into it, though, because I don't think anyone signed on to hear our life stories. They want to know about listing optimization and the other things that you guys do. So first, talk as if you're talking to both brand new sellers, and then we also need information for the advanced sellers that listen and tune into these webinars. So start with the basics, and then feel free to get more and more complex. And I'm going to 100% interrupt you, while you're going forward.
Oh, please do, CJ. So the thing about listing optimization is, well, this webinar is titled Amazon Listing Optimization Hacks, but most of what I'm going to talk about is actual fundamental things that they're not quick and dirty things like hacks. They do require quite a bit of work to actually get them right, but that's what's actually going to get you the best results. So to start out, I'm going to go with what I think is the most important thing, which is the images. And the most important out of the image is definitely the hero image, the main one that shows up on the search results page. So the reason for that,
that's a great, I love that reference, the hero image, right? Because that's the one that really comes in and gets the buyer interested. So I love how you're phrasing it. I love how you're getting into the images. Also, I'm going to ask you about enhanced content later on. But okay, let's talk about that hero image first.
Absolutely, yeah. So hero image, right? It's like that is the first thing your customers see. They're scrolling on the search results page. They're scrolling on one of your competitors' listings, and they see, customers who bought this item also bought, those kind of sections in there. That's like the customer's window into your product. So if that image sucks, then it doesn't matter how good the rest of your listing is. No one's going to see it. So that's right. Why I say the hero image is the most important.
It doesn't matter how good the product is. It doesn't matter how good the product is, because they don't buy it. They don't get to use it. You're right. If that first image sucks, you're not going anywhere. So it's vital.
Oh, absolutely. And so that is the most important thing to get right. And I always recommend that is the most important thing to continue to optimize and continue to see what does the best. So a few ways to do that. There's some basic points when you're creating the hero image, the main image. So taking up the most space possible in the image so that your product is taking up a lot of space. There's no white space around the edge, because people scrolling on the search results page, you get a tiny little thumbnail of your product about this big, right? And if your product is showing up bigger than everyone else's, that definitely helps. Also, like the lighting, a lot of people, they just skimp on the photography. The lighting is like coming from the side or something weird, and there's like weird shadows going across the very front of it. That's super important. Also, the positioning. If your product has, let's say, 4 pieces, a common mistake I see is to put the 4 pieces just all like in a quadrant, as if it's all like a 2-dimensional thing. But you really want to make it 3D. So like the main part of the product in the forefront, really big, and maybe the boss kind of in the background, stuff staggered around. And then the final thing that I like to do is you add some kind of effect, like a really basic shadow effect or reflection effect. You can get this done super cheap from contractors on Fiverr. There's a lot of companies in India that'll do this for literally, I think, $1 or $2 an image or something like that. So super easy, and it'll really make your hero image stand out.
I got to tell you something. I think that your skills as a carpenter before this are probably giving you a lot of insight into doing this. Like, like redoing your house, they call it architectural interest or something, right? Because it draws your eye and makes it stand out, which is why you use different textures or different depths for things. And I've never heard anybody talk about it before the way you are. And I think that's really great, because it has to be eye-catching. I think you're right. You fill the whole box, you draw the people in. And I find the quadrant pictures also just kind of dull, and you kind of scroll through. How does what you're saying play into mobile?
Into mobile. So that is the main reason why it is important to have your product taking up the vast majority of the image as big as possible, because especially on mobile, when people are scrolling, it's showing up super tiny. So think of the size of your mobile screen. It's taking up about 1/3 or half of that unless you zoom in. So like if you click to zoom in, then it's the size of your mobile screen, which is still pretty small. But if you're just scrolling around, the image is super, super tiny, right? So you want to make it as big as possible, especially from mobile. There's something else really interesting that I've been noticing recently. I just noticed when I was scrolling an Amazon Basics product that they don't size their images in a square. Like everyone says, size your image in a perfect square and just take up the most of the square. But with their studio images, the ones with the white background, they're cropping the actual product out as close as possible. So let's say that their product is a cell phone, then they are cropping the image like right around all the edges. And what that does, it actually sometimes will have this image take up more space than one that's perfectly square. So like, I'll post an example of this somewhere, but there's the image right above it is taking up the entire square, but the one below it is cropped out right around the edges of the product. And it's actually taking up, Amazon gives it more space on the page, which is really interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool hack that you wouldn't know unless you kind of did it wrong, either by accident or did it wrong on purpose. And also items like a cell phone case where it's rectangular, fitting it in and optimizing the space without distorting the product and making the product look off. Seems like a really kind of like a very specialized skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that does is it automatically optimizes for the screen you're on. So in that same example, it would show up, it would take up the entire screen on a mobile screen because, a picture of a cell phone is the same shape as a mobile screen, right? But then it would automatically switch to the best shape for a desktop as well. So it makes it more versatile if you do that.
Are you taking the images? Are you taking the pictures of products, for sellers, or is it something they send to you and then you clean it up a bit, or how logistically does it work?
Yeah, we do all the photography here in Vancouver. The sellers ship us their products either straight from their manufacturer or from Amazon or wherever they have them. We do all the photography in the studio. We do the lifestyle photography with real models if you're getting one of those packages. And then we do all of the, everything that I mentioned, touching it up, color correction, adding the effects and all that kind of stuff.
What's the lifestyle pictures? What do you mean by that? What service is that?
Lifestyle images, by that I just mean the model using your product in the intended way to be used. So let's say it's a soccer ball, then the lifestyle images would be, someone on a soccer field kicking around the soccer ball with, a big smile on their face and all that.
I got to tell you, also, it's vital. You mentioned copyright. We'll get into it. Also, we got some questions from Deepak and Ryan. We're going to answer your questions in a little bit. Taking your own images is absolutely vital. What we do here, we write tons and tons and tons of non-legal plans of action for sellers who either lost an ASIN or lost their account. We write the plans of action for them. The other half of the practice is dealing with intellectual property, which is copyright. And the main copyright issue you can't do is you can't use somebody else's image. You can't scrape someone else's picture. You can't do a screenshot. You can't copy it and clean it up because that is a clear copyright violation. All right, so Deepak asked a question about optimizing bullet points. I know we're jumping around a bit. I know you got the main picture. I want to talk about the other pictures, but let's go first about what you do with the other photographs, and then I want to go right to the bullet points.
Okay, so yeah, quickly with the other photographs there. So we're talking about lifestyle images. Well, actually, before I get into that, just a kind of overarching thing. So with images, people really don't like to read the listing. So the goal of the entire image set is to give all the people the information they need to see to know that your product is the right one for them without them having to go read through all of your listing and your bullet points. So images are always first, and then the rest of the listing is secondary. Now, that's not to say that keywords are not important, but images are more important, right? So the entire image set, you should be able to get all of the right information in there. So a good way to do that is lifestyle images. So for example, let's talk about what's a good example of a lifestyle image. So for example, let's say a beach volleyball or something like that. If you show someone actually using the beach volleyball on the beach, there's people around, there's a net right there. The customer knows how big that ball is going to be. They can see relatively, because if you just have a picture on a white background, they might think it's way bigger than it is, way smaller than it is. You're probably going to get some 2-star, 1-star reviews just based on that, right? So showing it actually in its intended use, you can show a lot of information with a picture of something, right? It doesn't have to be text. It doesn't have to be a graphic or anything like that. So think about that when creating your lifestyle images. What do you want to show the customer about your product in that lifestyle image?
Hey, what we've been talking about, let me interrupt for a second. We've been talking about the last couple of Wednesdays is really using your listing and your product to tell a story to obtain more sales, right? And so the lifestyle images show the story, like the beach volleyball, for example. It shows like beautiful people on the beach having fun with the size of the beach ball. We've also been promoting several vendors, and I agree with them that by doing it and telling the story with your images and with your listings, you'll also probably prevent some complaints. Like there was a great example of a guy I heard at Global Sources in Hong Kong, where it's him and his mom and his siblings who have this business, and they tell the story basically about their family, right, with their product and their product inserts. And I think doing that possibly in the images of like the pictures telling a story could be really good for sellers.
Oh, absolutely. And so many people don't even read the rest of the listing, right? They're going to look at the pictures and they're going to make their decision based off that. So you got to have the right information there. You want to convey everything possible, including a story in the pictures for sure.
And I think the pictures you also have like if you have people, they got like happy people. The lifestyle I think is vital, or things that indicate all the ancillary benefits you're going to get, from, in this case, this particular beach ball. Also, you're going to be a happier, healthier, more suntanned and better shaped person from buying your beach ball.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to get really granular with you guys for a second. So, if you want to get like really obsessive about getting the best lifestyle images, then think about taking a picture of the product in the exact moment when your customer would be receiving the main benefit. So let's say that whatever the main emotion and main benefit that your customer receives when they use your product, make that exact moment when they're doing the action, when they're actually receiving that emotion, that should be the photo that you take of the model using your product, right? I see way too many lifestyle images with a model of, like I see it all the time in like beauty products. It's like, here's a model like holding this can of shea butter next to her face or something like that, and like looking at the camera. It's like, that's ridiculous. No one would be doing that in their everyday life. Like she's like, hey, look at me, I have this product next to my face. Like right. So much it's more powerful.
More like the lipstick when you actually see the picture of the model, like, putting the lipstick on.
Totally.
Actually feeling good about using that color or that shade.
Totally. She's putting it on, and then the model's like, maybe there's a picture of her out at the dance club with, getting attention from these super hot guys or like whatever, like receiving the benefit, not posing when trying to make the product look nice, right?
I love that you granular. I love that you really thought this through, because we are a huge proponent of sellers focusing on what they do best, which is identifying products and running the dashboard. But farming out things like for the photograph, I mean, this is huge stuff for sellers. You guys need to know this stuff, that there are people, you know, like Danny, who've really thought it through, what your picture should have, what your images should convey on such a level to increase your sales. So I think this is awesome. I think this is huge for sellers. This will help them make more money and avoid intellectual property suspension because you're getting your own photographs that you actually own.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely important to learn this kind of stuff, guys. This stuff can definitely increase your sales on Amazon by a huge amount. So there's one more thing I wanted to touch on with the images, and that is graphic design or product call-out images, as we call them. So examples of this would be, you know, a zoom-in bubble on a certain aspect of the product with a little bit of text, just showing off, you know, like Velcro attachment or some kind of feature, just highlighting one of the unique features or benefits of the product. Another example would be a scale image or a sizing image, just, you know, showing 12 inches by, you know, 3.5 inches. For certain products, that is super important for reasons like I mentioned, like a lot of customers complaining that it's too big or too small than they thought it was. But the most common mistake I see with this one is that there's way too much text on the images. The text is way too small. Going back to what I said about optimizing your images for a mobile screen, the text needs to be readable on a mobile screen, or even if it's like small on a desktop. A lot of the images I see on Amazon, it's even difficult to read on a desktop without like double clicking to open it up on a full screen. Like that's ridiculous, right? It's still taking up like half my laptop screen, but it's hard to read.
You know, also, I think sellers need to know that many times, like in images, sometimes less, you know, less is more. Like less but sharper, less but you know, more persuasive is more than having a ton of text on there. So I think that's also a huge, huge takeaway from this particular webinar. You know, sharp, vital, thoughtful, and you know, you got to be able to read it. It's got to be good for mobile because, you know, where people are not reading when they're shopping, they're really just looking at the images and taking a picture or taking a mental picture before they purchase.
Absolutely. And I would challenge everyone listening to this webinar to do a little bit of product research on yourself, so to speak. When you're actually shopping yourself on Amazon, looking for whatever you want to buy, try to be conscious and look at your brain behavior as you're scanning through the products. And I can guarantee you that as you're comparing a few products, you're not going to read through all of the freaking bullet points and go read through, like, you know, zoom in on all the pictures, like, oh, what does that say? Like, I got to zoom in to figure out like what he's trying to say and all that stuff. You're just going to go click onto another listing. Amazon makes it so easy that all over every single listing, they have, you know, places where you can click onto a different product that's similar. They want you to just go onto someone else's product. So it's a good little experiment to do on yourself to really understand the psychology of this stuff.
And you're right, because what you do when you see the other products that you're looking at, you can go on saying, you know, I want to buy this particular microphone. You know, I use a very particular microphone other than today with the headset. For these webinars, but I wanted that specific one. When I looked at it, it showed me pictures of others, and I ended up clicking around and going back to the one I had already researched. All right, let's move on to the bullet points. What are you guys doing when it comes to the bullet points?
So you really touched on something that is super relevant to the bullet points, which is brevity and just being super concise. Is so much more powerful than just putting a lot of information in there. That is the number one problem I see with current sellers on bullet points is they make it way too long, and Amazon's like bolding and spacing and stuff for the bullet points is not very good. It's just like a block of text basically, right? So a lot of sellers, they put on average like 2 to 3 times more text than is necessary in there when you could say the exact same thing in about 2 sentences. So but we always
let me ask you a question. How do you then balance it with sellers who want to get more search terms, you know, stuffed in their descriptions in the bullet points?
So the bullet points is the weakest section of the entire listing when it comes to actual weight for keywords. Not that there's a huge difference between, you know, keyword ranking weight between all the sections, like title being the most, but it is the weakest out of them. We've never had a problem getting all the search terms that we want in a listing. In fact, I think that's one of the other major mistakes is trying to get way too many search terms indexed in your listing. So many people get caught up in just trying to get as many of the possible search terms in there when, one, customers are not actually searching for those search terms, or two, the search terms are not actually relevant enough, and it's totally pointless to get index for those search terms because the people who are searching for them are looking for something different. You know what I mean? Even if it seems relevant, a lot of the time that search term is just, the first 4 pages are something that is not what your customers would want to buy.
A lot of sellers think that the more you pop up, the better. And I've heard other people say the same thing you have. I think it's a decision that sellers need to really think about and then make. Let me ask you a question that Deepak had asked a few minutes ago. How to optimize the bullet points and the back end search terms. What do you guys do in terms of bullet points and the back end?
So for the bullet points, we actually don't really focus on the keywords for the bullet points. We focus on making that like the best sales copy, so to speak. So that's where we really want to convey the most important information in the most persuasive way to the customer. The other sections of the listing, we can really focus on the keywords. Quick tips on the bullet points. We keep them between 130 and 170 characters, which is about 2 sentences. Always start with a benefit-driven heading, which is so like you take the feature of the product, like say Velcro, and then try to go 2 or 3 layers deeper. What is the benefit of having Velcro? Well, it holds stuff together easily. Well, why is it good that it holds stuff together easily? Well, it's secure, so like I don't drop my wallet on the ground or whatever it is, right? So just keep going until you get the core benefit. Make that the heading of each bullet point.
Yeah, I think that is simple genius, right? And I'm not really sure how many sellers actually do that. I think that's simple genius to start with the benefit. This is like psychology 101, that if you're really thinking about it, people are not necessarily buying the widget. They're buying the benefit they perceive the widget's going to give to them. So benefit, I think that's great. To me, that's the takeaway for me. Benefit, it should definitely be like the first words, on each bullet point. That's huge. Oh, sorry, I totally interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, that is absolutely super important. Most people will start with the feature and then explain why it's a benefit, but it's so much more powerful to switch that around, to state the benefit so that people will actually read why your product provides that benefit. So much more powerful. It does take a little bit of work, but a lot more powerful for sure. So bullet points, and then the second part of the Deepak's question was the backend keywords. So the backend keywords, again, we don't put that much thought into, just because there's so little characters actually indexed by Amazon these days, around 250 characters, right? Depending, there's exceptions to that too. Nothing's ever totally straight on Amazon. But the backend keywords is where we'll try to index for other keywords that we couldn't fit into the listing. It's where we will sometimes put the top 2 phrases in actual phrase order, kind of depending on if we're able to fit all the keywords we wanted into the rest of the listing. But I wish I could give you a more concise answer, but
we've got a question from Ryan, who wants to know if you can provide an example of an image that you think is just great. So if you give it to me, I'll type it on the screen, or I'll put his question up, Ryan, and then Danny can get back to you later and give you a couple examples of things that he thinks that are really just really great examples of what he's talking about.
Yeah, I can find an example here. Just yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in the comments here.
Yep. While you're taking a look, William's on. He made a really good comment that you want to make your listing look as sharp and professional as you'd see in like a traditional magazine. I got to tell you, William, I agree 100%. I think listings that have poor images or poor quality images, even though they may be up to Amazon standards or you may not get dinged for them yet, I think it's terrible. I mean, everything you do needs to be really, really sharp and professional, especially to people who are only looking at stuff online. I mean, if you look like you go on a train, there's nobody reading magazines anymore. But you're right, the artwork's got to be top quality, which is what Kenji ROI does. And I think that's a huge point to make, so I appreciate it.
Totally, and it's really important to distinguish between e-commerce and regular retail, is that people in a store, they can see a lot more information about the product because, they can flip the box around. Depending on the product, they can actually pick it up and see it and feel it and all that stuff. You have to convey all of that exact same information through pictures and text with zero of the other input, right? That's a big difference between e-commerce and regular.
You also, when someone walks into a retail store, they're already in there, like already kind of a captive audience. I mean, you can walk back out, but they're already in one place. Where in e-commerce, whether it's Amazon or eBay or Etsy or Wish or any place else out there, you can just click around and at nothing, no effort at all, rather than walking out of a store. So I think it's totally got to capture their attention right away before they click on something else and pick another product.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I put a link to that into the comments there for you guys. You guys
Cool.
see that? I don't know if that went into the.
I don't see yet a lot of comments. If Deepak or William or Ryan, if you can just put a note that you can see it and that it works, it'd be greatly appreciated. All right, tell us some more about the logistics. How does somebody hire you guys?
All right, CJ, I think I put it into the team chat in this live thing here. Can you see it? And then maybe you can post it into the comments.
Let's see. No, we got a lot of good reactions though, but no, I don't see it.
Team chat.
Team chat, yeah.
We'll just figure this out. We got this crazy technology thing going on here. Yeah. We got this fancy technology bringing live across the country to all you guys.
Yeah. So Di wrote, he can't see it yet. I'll tell you what. Why don't you email it to me? We'll get back to it, and at the end, I'll go check the email why this is open and live, and then I'll post it. If you can.
Actually, here there we go. I found the live feed on Facebook.
Oh, awesome! Now I see it.
Boom. All right.
Deepak, William, everybody, guys see it? All right, looks great. All right, tell us more. Get down to the really granular level of bare bones. How does a seller hire you guys? How does the pricing structure work? How does it work logistically in terms of fixing their listings?
Yeah, so we work with sellers in two ways. So one is the Amazon listing creation side of things, where we have packages of product photography, product videos, copywriting, keyword optimization. We do pay-per-click management as well. And then the flip side of that is for larger companies and larger sellers that typically range from 1 to 5 million, where we actually manage the entire Amazon account and strategy. So mostly with the type of sellers who would be on this webinar, the best things that we can do for you are listing optimization packages. So it's either like just copywriting, if you just want the copywriting keywords done, or just product photography. Product photography is probably the biggest segment of our listing optimization department right now. We also have packages with combinations of those and enhanced brand content. So if you're a brand registered seller, then that's definitely a good way to increase that. So, basically if you reach out to us, we do free listing analysis videos to analyze your listing, just point out exactly what we think the best opportunities are. And like, if you have great looking photos already, we're not going to tell you that you need a photo package. But maybe your copywriting and your keywords is, it could be improved quite a bit, then we're going to recommend a copywriting package.
One of the biggest problems that Amazon sellers have is they have no one to talk to. They can't call Amazon and speak to anybody who really knows anything. So here's where I put you on the spot. How can they contact you? Email, telephone. A lot of Amazon want someone to first talk to and say, okay, take a look at my listings. What do you think? Tell me about your analysis. How can our listeners, how can our viewers contact you directly?
So the best way to do that would be to go to our website, kenjiroi.com. That's KENJIROI.com. You can reach us by phone or through the contact box there, but there should be a pop-up there. If you wait around for about 10 seconds or try to exit the page, then there'll be a pop-up asking if you want a listing analysis video. So that's where you type in one of your current Amazon listings, or maybe for a product that you're about to buy or thinking about buying, put in one of the competitors there, and we'll analyze that and just say, it's me who actually does all these videos myself. So I analyze about 6 minutes each and just say what the biggest areas for improvements are, some tips on how to improve them, and then would recommend, if you were to get any services from us, which one of those would be the best.
I think it's great that you're looking at competitors. A lot of people think that they have to reinvent the wheel, and they don't. If you look at what your competitors are doing and it's working really well, you can take what they've already done and then improve upon that. There's a saying like, you don't have to be a genius, but it helps to stand on the shoulders of geniuses. And I think that sellers can really, really do that. Look at what's working and then improve upon it. And continuously improve. Make your images sharper. Look at the verbiage that they're using and what's driving their traffic and try and figure it out. Hey, let me ask you, got a question from William. Future technology. You think videos coming in, motion graphics and Amazon listings, movable 3D?
Oh yeah. So Amazon is, you can look for some crazy big stuff coming from Amazon as far as video goes within the next year or two. So to start, a lot of you probably know that Amazon video is in beta for enhanced brand content. So a lot of sellers who have access to enhanced brand content through brand registry is they're able to put videos in their enhanced brand content descriptions. Super awesome. But Amazon, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, they patented the process of rewarding customers for watching videos on their platform. So this insinuates they're about to do something crazy. So like, for example, they could show ads. They could have us sellers pay for ads on products and then reward the buyer for watching that ad by giving them like a 50% off coupon just for watching the ad or something like that. So pretty incredible, right?
It sounds like incentivized products all over again, like what's old is new again. Like you watch the video, you get a 50% off, and then maybe you also leave a review, and then we go back circular again to incentivize reviews, which a lot of sellers did really, really well with. That's really interesting. Hey, do you optimize listings in foreign markets?
We do in foreign markets, only between the EU and Australia and the other ones that are English. We don't currently do German and Japanese and stuff like that. We do have people that we refer people to as far as if you're getting into the Japanese market. We have a good relationship with someone locally who actually knows the different Japanese keywords and stuff like that. Yeah, Japan's a weird one because they have multiple ways to say almost every single word in Japanese. So only an actual Japanese person would know which keyword people are going to be searching for to say something, right? So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, we have full-time staff in 2 different cities in China. We're now have full-time staff in Yiwu, China, and in Shenzhen, China. And the Chinese language is also just like incredibly difficult. It's all like intonations. And even like the Americans who've picked up some Chinese, they can't really identify the persuasiveness or what the conversational words would be. So yeah, it's good you have someone you can refer people to, because Japan, I think, is now the 3rd largest market. It's US, Germany, Japan. I think Japan may have beat UK or vice versa, but things are growing there exponentially. And I'm really glad you brought up Australia. Australia, for sellers that are hesitant to go into foreign markets, Australia is a great place to get into. First of all, it's an enormous country, absolutely enormous. It's got an English-speaking population, and it's a fresh market to get into. So you may get a little bit more leeway in your conduct there. Also, if you're getting into Australia, there's a great event coming up, Retail Global, in a couple of weeks in Gold Coast, Australia, that if you are going into it, is a tremendously worthwhile trip to make. One, you get to see Australia. I'm headed there a week from yesterday. Can't wait to get there. And number 2 is going to be top speakers in all of retail for Australia. So it's called Retail Global. It's in Gold Coast, Australia. It starts on May 23rd. Retail Global in Gold Coast, Australia. All right, let me ask you a couple more questions here. You also mentioned people with brand registry 2.0. We got a question from Nick. What are you doing specifically for people who have 2.0?
Well, all of the enhanced brand content that we do now is through the 2.0 templates. So, I mean, 2.0 is, they just have just templates that are better, in my opinion. They're better thought out. They have better modules. They just appear a little bit better. So all of the enhanced brand content that we do now is the 2.0.
Great. It is the future. I guess, we've been seeing 1.0 getting phased out for a long time. And then about 2 months ago, we started seeing those emails, how they're just going to take it away. So if you don't have 2.0, you really should. You got to get a trademark. You can apply. You can do it yourself. That's going to take some time, but it is the wave of the future. I think actually it's the wave of the now. It's no longer the future. It's the present. All right. What else do you want to talk about? It's getting kind of late in the time. What other services you want to talk about? And how else can you help sellers?
Well, I would just recommend you guys to take advantage of, free listing optimization video, kind of see what the best opportunities for you might be, or also on our blog. I go deeper into a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, how to optimize your title and images and keywords. If you guys are on a budget and you want to do that stuff yourself, I just walk you through, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here in more detail so you can do it yourself. There's a lot of good resources. That's kenjiroi.com/blog. And other than that, I would just like to really, I want to second your notion about brand registry 2.0 being super important. There's always more tools being added to it. Like I said, video is in beta right now. It's going to be released to everyone soon, assumedly, and they're constantly looking for new ways to make that more valuable, new tools to give to actual registered brands to give them an advantage. So it's only going to be more valuable going forward. Make the investment into trademark and get it all done. Super, super important.
And you guys can do it all yourself. You can easily apply for a trademark yourself, uspto.gov. You don't need to hire me or any other law firm. If you end up getting what's called an office action back, then you may want to call us. Or if you want us, we can do it for you. But it's really, really easy to do. It's a really easy form. Have you guys started gearing up for video? Are you shooting video now in preparation or to provide in the beta or just to be ahead of the curve?
Absolutely. So about 6 months ago, we started our video program in anticipation of this. We just, we saw the writing on the wall as far as what Amazon is doing with video. We've been doing that for about 6 months. Another interesting thing about Amazon Video is they have the Amazon Video Prime, right? And they've been outspending Netflix on that. So they're growing a Netflix competitor as an addition, for free to an Amazon Prime account, right? And they don't have to be profitable with that. So what I think potentially could happen is us sellers might be able to actually pay for ad space on that platform. And that'll be targeted based on Amazon data, because they have everyone's data, what they've been looking for on their Prime account, what they've bought on their Prime account. So we might be able to show video ads to sellers on the Amazon Video platform based off of their shopping patterns. I think that's where Amazon's going with video. So that'll be really exciting.
What do you think about sellers investing in video now? Do you think there's a risk that they invest in doing video now and there are changes at Amazon or it's not exactly right and they have to redo it, versus being prepared that if they get it, they can launch, they already have the videos, in the warehouse and they can put them up?
Well, I mean, the best thing about videos is that you can use them in multiple places. They're not going away, right? So you can use them for YouTube ads, your YouTube channel. You can get them posted on certain places on Amazon right now, and you can just use those same ones in the future when Amazon changes their stuff. Or, as long as you have the actual footage from the video, you can maybe change the sizing of it if Amazon decides to change the size. But video really is the future. There's a reason why Amazon's investing so heavily in getting video more on their platform. They want to keep people on Amazon instead of going to YouTube. They want more of the video traffic, which is what everyone watches these days. You guys are all watching a video right now. You know what I mean? It's way better than reading some blog post of us talking together and someone transcribed it, right?
I got to tell you, I find it a bit scary how little reading, people are now doing. I agree with you. It is the way of the future. This is all about making money, but reading is also good. All right. Anything you want to promote? Anything you want about where you're going to speak? The website, phone number, anything else you want to talk about? And I've got a couple of plugs I want to do.
Okay, yeah. The only other thing I'd like to mention is I'm also the co-host of the Actualized Freedom podcast, which is about selling on Amazon and actually some other digital marketing stuff and lifestyle optimization stuff, which is a side hobby of mine. So to check that out, actualizedfreedom.com or Actualized Freedom on iTunes Store. My partner in that is a serial entrepreneur he's sold 2 businesses. Currently does
Freedom?
Actualizedfreedom.com. Yeah.
I love the name.
Awesome. And yeah, other than that, it was thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to talk to you guys and chat about this stuff.
All right. Really, really cool. Great having you on. A lot of tidbits that I took. I'm going to adjust some of the things that we do here. Nobody who works in my law firm, nobody who has access to what people sell are allowed to sell anything. If a seller calls another consultant to do a plan of action, they may become your next competitor. Everything here is confidential. Nobody here sells anything, but we do sell our services and we give away a lot of our knowledge. But I want to just pump a couple of things here. And this is super, super important to me. One, for Amazon sellers to learn how to sell better and to make more money. My webinar, I think, is great, not because of me, because of awesome guests like Danny, but there are also great events. Retail Global in Australia, Midwest Ecom in Minneapolis, ASD in Vegas in the summer. Just fantastic events. There's also some great events coming up in the UK. So if you're in the UK, email me and I'll send you a list of where I think you should go. And number two, everyone who is selling on Amazon, or practically everyone who's selling on Amazon or doing any business for Amazon sellers, is also shopping on Amazon. And I talk about this charity every chance I get. It was started by a buddy of mine who lost his son to brain cancer, and it was absolutely awful. That's Ty's name. He passed away, God, time flies, but I guess like close to 5 years ago. And Lou and his wife, Cindy, turned their tragedy into absolute triumph. They created the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. And what I want you to do is every time you shop on Amazon is to go through Amazon Smiles program. It costs you nothing. You can pick a charity. Pick the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. And they only send a small percentage of your purchase to the charity, but all those bits and pieces add up to real money. And the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation is devoted to finding cures and treatments to pediatric, to childhood cancers. So please, if you buy even a box of pencils on Amazon, okay, do it through Amazon Smiles and choose the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation as the charity. They really do fantastic, fantastic work. And if you're on the East Coast, check them out for their events. There's something called the Mess Fest, where you have food fights and jump in muddy puddles and all sorts of cool stuff. But Amazon Smiles and the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. And thank you guys for joining us. Deepak and Ryan and William, thank you very much for your questions. If you have any more, just post them on Facebook, and either Danny or myself will answer them. And we'll see you next week for next webinar Wednesdays. Thanks again, guys. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, CJ.